All right, hi everyone. So right now I am accessing the ARC computers in the Design and Technology department through VMware. So I am at home on my personal computer, and if I look down here, I see a taskbar from my personal computer, and then I see another taskbar from the ARC computer. And so if I hover over this, this is my VMware, and I can see these windows here. And so if I were to go to full screen, then it would just look a lot more like the ARC computers, but I just have this window open to show you this process here. And so I double clicked on AutoCAD to open up AutoCAD so that way it had time to load. And it brings me to a screen that looks like this. And so let's go ahead and get started and kind of take a look at the user interface and just do a quick rundown on what AutoCAD looks like and what it's about. So I'm going to select New, and this will open up a new drawing. And you can choose to sign into your Autodesk account, but you don't have to. That's not a requirement to use the software. And so I just went ahead and closed that window. And all right, so if I look at this, if I start off over here, I'm going to look at this big A with the logo in the corner. So if I do this drop down, this is called the application menu. And so here I can create a new drawing, open up an existing drawing, make saves. I can import PDFs and other documents. I can export things. I can publish or print. And print can also be called plot. Those words are used interchangeably in AutoCAD, so it's print or plot. The drawing utilities menu is in here as well. And so some very useful things. And to exit this, I can just simply click into space over here. This up here, this is known as the quick access toolbar. This is just some frequently used tools such as save, save as, plot or print. Undo is here as well, redo. And then undo, you can hold down Control and then hit Z on your keyboard, just like you would in Word or other applications. And redo, same thing. You can hold down Control and Y to redo something. All right. And then this up here, this is known as the ribbon. All right. And so the ribbon, it consists of tabs, so different tabs, and panels. So different panels right here. You can actually take one of these panels and you can drag it out if you want. I like to just keep it where it's at. And let me put it back where it was before. But this is where you're going to be accessing commands and other useful tools for creating your drawing. All right, and sometimes you might accidentally click something and this ribbon will go away and you're like, how do I get that ribbon back? And to do that, you would just type in the word ribbon and then that would bring back this ribbon up here. All right, and then here, this is the File tab. Right now, I only have one drawing open, and this is the Start menu, so I can toggle between both. If I want to open up a new drawing, I can go back to the Start menu if I want, and select New, or I can open up an existing drawing, or I can simply select this plus sign. And then that would open up another drawing. All right, but I don't need that right now, so I'll go ahead and close it. And this here, this is known as, this is just the drawing area. It's also called the model space or the workspace. And this is where you will actually be creating your drawings. Over here, this is the viewport controls. And so you can view your drawings in different views. So you can do top view, bottom, left, right, front, isometric view, which is like from an angle, etc. And then you can also change the view of it from wireframe to realistic shaded. We will go over more of this later. And you can also do that with this here. All right, and so this, if you were to change the view, so I could change the view by holding down Shift and then selecting the scroll wheel on my cube. I'm sorry, not on my cube, on my mouse. And then now I accidentally skewed my view, right? I don't actually want it to look like that. So I can just select top here, or I can go here and select top again. So now I just have back my normal view. All right, and then this thing right here, this is the navigation bar. You don't really need this if you have a mouse, and you definitely should have a mouse. It is much easier to use AutoCAD with the mouse, and if you have a laptop and all you have is like the touchpad and this, it's going to be way more difficult for you to use your to draw on AutoCAD and to be efficient with it. So I'm just going to close that because I don't use that. And this right here, this is the user coordinate system, or the UCS. And so AutoCAD operates in a plane, and this is the origin of that plane. So if you think of an XY plane, so if I had an imaginary line that goes down this way and one that goes across this way, then this point right here, this would be 0, 0. Okay, and so that will make more sense later when we go through some of the assignments. All right, and then down here I have my model and layout tabs. So my model tab, that is what I'm in right now. That's where I can view model space. If I go to my layout tab, this is called paper space. So this is like a piece of paper and it has a viewport, and this viewport is looking in to model space. And then same with layout too. So I would configure this piece of paper. So I would configure my layout to look a certain way. And I can go ahead and look into my drawing and I can print my drawing onto this piece of paper like this. And so this is how you toggle between paper space. So paper space is the layout tab and model space. And if you want to create more layout tabs, you can do so with this plus sign here. All right, and then down here, this is called the command line. This is where you will talk to AutoCAD and AutoCAD will talk back to you. And so you don't have to select in here to make a command. You can actually just start typing anywhere. So for example, if I want to use the line command, I could just start typing line and then enter or spacebar. And then now right here, AutoCAD is talking to me. It's saying specify the first point. So I'm going to specify the first point right here. And then it says specify the next point. So I can click somewhere else and now I specify the next point. And to escape in a command, I'm going to touch the escape key on my keyboard. All right, and so now I have a line. And then if you see here these gray things, that is what your commands were and what AutoCAD told you to do, etc. And so you can actually even bring this up and you can read them that way if you want to see what was done. All right, and so like I said, you don't actually have to type in here, but you certainly can. So I can select in there and I can put line that way as well. Okay, so I'm going to take these and delete them. All right, and then down here, this is the status bar. And the status bar has some very useful tools, and these will affect your drawing area. So for example, it can affect the display. If I turn on and off this grid, I could do so like this, and then now the grid is gone. The grid is there. ortho mode, and polar tracking. These are very convenient things. Object snap is located here. And so this has just a lot of very useful tools, which we will go over. And here, this cursor, so right here, this plus sign, this is known as my crosshair. And so this is just my cursor. This is how I select things. And I can go ahead and just adjust the crosshair size in my options menu. Okay, and so yeah, that's just a quick overview of the user interface of AutoCAD. So when using AutoCAD, you want to use a mouse. This is going to make drawings way easier to create. If you only have a laptop with the touchpad, for example, that is going to be very difficult to use, and I do not suggest using it. So make sure you have a mouse and make sure that mouse has a scroll wheel with a click function. Okay, and so the left click, that is for making selections and specifying locations. The right click, that's for accessing the shortcut menus. And the scroll wheel is used to zoom in and out from the cursor location. And it is used to pan when you click and hold that scroll wheel. And if you were to double click the mouse scroll wheel, you can fit the entire drawing into the visible drawing area. Okay, so here I have just a triangle. If I were to left click, I can select somewhere in my drawing area. I'll go ahead and select again to get rid of that selection box. I can also select specific things on my drawing, and I can deselect by pressing escape. All right, and so that is how the left click works. The right click, this is to access the shortcuts menu, and I'm just going to select anywhere out of here to get rid of that. And I'll select again, or I'll click again, and then the scroll wheel, if I put my cursor over here to the right, that is going to zoom in and out of this location. So if I scroll my wheel down, I'm zooming out. If I scroll it up, I'm zooming in. If I want to zoom in or out over here, I can go on the side, I can zoom out and then in. And now my triangle is out of screen, so I want to pan. So to pan, I'm going to click on my mouse and I'm going to hold it down, and then I'm going to just drag it over. And I can continue to do that if I need to pan more. All right, and now if I want to get my drawing within my screen, I could double click this mouse scroll wheel, and now the whole thing is within my screen. Let's say I'm zoomed way out and I lost my drawing. I can just simply double click the scroll wheel and then boom, there it is. Okay, and so that's how you use the mouse. So I can pan, I can zoom in and out, and I could do it really quickly once I get used to it, right? I want to see this corner, that's what it looks like. Okay. And so now I'm going to talk a little bit about selections. So to make selections, you can simply just hover over whatever it is you want to select and you can left click it. So I can click on that line, and then if I click on another line, it's going to select both of these. So it's not going to deselect one and then just select the other. It'll continue to select whatever it is you click on. So now I have all three selected. But let's say I don't want all three selected. Maybe I only want these two selected. So if I want to deselect this line, I can hold down Shift and then I can click on that. And now I have deselected this line here and I only have these two selected. To deselect everything, I would choose push the escape key on my keyboard. So that will deselect everything. Okay, and then there's also something called selection windows. So if I were to click to the right of this drawing and I were to drag over, that creates a green selection window. And if I were to click from the left side and drag over to the right, that will create a blue selection window. And these windows do different things. If I were to click and hold it, it's going to create this lasso, which I don't like. I think it's obnoxious. I don't know anyone that actually uses it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And it's not that you can't use it. You can certainly use it. But sometimes you might accidentally click and drag instead of just click and touch it like that. And so I'll go ahead and turn off that option because I never use the lasso anyways. So I'm going to do that by right clicking and going to Options. I'm going to go to Selection, and right here where it says Allow press and drag for lasso, I'm going to deselect that. And I'll say OK. And then in Options, this is where you can also change some of your other preferences. So let's say for display, for example, you don't like how it's dark and you want it to be light, you can change that here. So you can make it light and you can change the colors and you can make it white, and that'll make this area white, and up here will be white based off this color theme. And so I'm not going to do that, but you certainly can if you'd like. The crosshair size, I have it increased all the way to 100. I think it starts off at 5. And so, yeah, that's a smaller one here. They do the same thing no matter the size. I just like it to be at 100 because I like to have very accurate drawings, and sometimes it is easier for me to see that it's accurate when it's at 100. But do whatever is most comfortable for you. All right, so for example, maybe won't put it at 100. I'll just put it at like 20 for now. So that would be like this. Actually, I don't like that. So either 100 or I'll just do, yeah, I'll do 100 because that is what I prefer. But go ahead and keep it at 5. Don't change it at all if you'd like, or change it to whatever you want. Okay, so back to the selection boxes. If I click here and if I go to the left, that creates the green selection box. If I drag my cursor to the right, that creates a blue selection box. And these boxes do different things. So the green selection box, that will select anything that is touching that box. So I have these 3 lines and they are all touching this box, and so therefore they will all be selected. All right, I'm going to go ahead and escape. If I do my blue selection box, this is going to only select anything that is fully encompassed within that box. So now this line is fully in here, and I have only selected this one. I'm going to just go ahead and create another random shape. So I'll select line, and I'm just going to create some random lines here. Okay, and so there we go. That's fine. So I'll go ahead and press escape, and I'm going to go back to my blue selection box, and if I hover over these, only the ones that are fully encompassed within this box are selected. If I went a little bit more right, then I have 2 more lines selected. Okay, and so let's say I wanted to select all these lines, but not this one. I can even use my selection box to deselect things. So I can hold down Shift like I did before, and I can deselect this bottom line because it's fully encompassed inside this box. Okay, and let's say I wanted to deselect this line here, and this line here. So I can hold down Shift and I could click them one by one, but that's not super efficient. So you can also deselect by using your green selection box. I can press Shift and everything, so I'm holding down Shift, and then everything that is touching this box will be deselected. Let's say I only want to deselect this one in here, so I'm going to hold down Shift and then use my blue one to deselect that one. Okay, and then I can use my we want to deselect this one here as well. All right, and so that's all about the mouse controls and making selections in AutoCAD. So AutoCAD uses keyboard shortcuts for specific commands and actions. And so if you look at your workbook, starting on page 8, you can see a summary of what these keyboard shortcuts are. And there's a link here if you were to open that up. This will show you those keyboard shortcuts as well, but on the AutoCAD website. Okay, so once you get more comfortable and familiar with AutoCAD, you will likely be using these keyboard shortcuts, and this will help you to become an efficient AutoCAD user. So I like to use the keyboard with my left hand and then my mouse with my right hand. So for example, if I wanted to use the line command and I wanted to use the keyboard shortcut for that, I would do line, and then I would enter that with spacebar. And then I would point and click to draw my line. And when I'm ready to escape that command, I would press escape over here. All right, and then line and enter also works. I like spacebar because it's a little bit faster for me. And so you're not expected to memorize these, but go ahead and go through the pages and get familiar. And as you practice, you will kind of learn which commands you use very frequently and which keyboard shortcuts are going to be useful for you to memorize. And so if I took polyline, for example, because that is one I use quite frequently, I would remember that polyline is PL. So let me go ahead and go to AutoCAD. And so here I have AutoCAD open. If I do the command PL, I'm now in my polyline command tool, right? And then polyline can also be found here in the drawing panel, but it's not as fast for me to go up here every time I want to use it. And then I can escape, and then I go back up here when I want to use it again. Instead, I can just do PL, and then I can use it that way. And if you want to change any of these shortcuts, you actually can, and you can do that under Express Tools tab, and you can go to Command Aliases. And I'm going to go ahead and look for polyline. All right here. So polyline, I could see right here is PL, just like I saw in my document. And because I use polyline so much, I actually don't want it to be PL because I use it all the time and I want it to be even faster. So I can actually edit this, and that's going to open up a new window. And I can change this. I'm going to say to Q because I don't really need Q for anything else. I think it does have a shortcut, but I'll go ahead and use Q for polyline. And so I'm going to say OK. And then I will apply, and I'll say OK. All right, and so now when I click on Q, so let me do that a little bit slower. So I did Q and then spacebar. Now that's going to bring me up a polyline. Okay, and that is a little bit faster for me because I can use Q with my pinky and spacebar with my thumb. I'll go ahead and do one more. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Edit. And I'm going to go ahead and change Copy. So copy, the shortcut for that is CO. I don't really like that because I have to, once again, click two letters, and they're a little bit far away from each other. And I could change it to, I can't change it to C because C is already being used for circle, and I also want to use C for circle. So I'm going to change it to CC because I could just click that twice, press spacebar for enter, and I can easily copy things because I use copy quite a bit. So I'm going to say OK. So now when I do this, I can do, oops, so I did 1C, I could do CC, and I can copy this over, escape, and if I want to copy this once again, I can still actually use CO, the original default command, and I could copy things that way as well. So you don't have to customize any commands if you don't want to, but as you get more comfortable and familiar with AutoCAD, you might want to do that. Okay. So, we're just now getting started, so I'm going to go ahead and match my settings to the ones I have in my workbook. So I had already opened up AutoCAD. I created a new one, and I'm going to make sure my selection is correct, and I'm going to match these here to what I want in here. So I'm going to right click. I'll go to options. I'm going to go to selection. I'm going to deselect allow press and drag for lasso because I don't like that. I'm going to say OK, and then I will go back to my document. And I'll go ahead and set this over here. And I'm going to go to the 3 lines in the corner, and I'm just going to match this to what I have here. For example, I don't like this down here because this snaps to the grid in the background, and this could really mess up your drawings if this is on. So let's say if I'm in polyline again, it's kind of making my mouse jerky because it's trying to snap to this grid in the background. Even if this grid is off, it will try to do it. And so you never want this on. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to go ahead and turn off what I don't need and turn on what I do need. So I have model space on, grid on, dynamic input, ortho mode, polar tracking, isometric drafting, object snap drafting, tracking, 2D object snap. I want to turn on line weight, transparency, selection cycling is off. Let's see what else is on. Annotation visibility, auto scale, annotation scale, workspace switching. I could turn off annotation monitor. I'll go ahead and turn this off as well and turn that off as well. Okay, so now I have matched these settings to what I have in my document. And I will go ahead and match my object snaps as well. So down here is my object snaps, and I'm going to match it to look like this. So I have endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant, intersection, and extension, perpendicular, and tangent. Which actually you don't really need tangent on, so you can leave that off if you'd like. All right. If you want to change your units, you would do that by using the unit command. So you can simply start typing in UN, or you could just do UN, or it could be UNITS. And so you can either type in the whole thing or you could just type in UN. So here you can see what the type is, the precision. So right now it's a decimal to 4 decimal places, and that is going to be in inches. Anything that is drawn will be drawn to inches. So if you'd like to change that, you could do millimeters, centimeters, meters. And I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. And then when you save your drawings, I want you to go ahead and save that as the assignment number. So for example, if you're working on assignment 1, it would be 1.1 underscore and then your initials. And that will be saving as a .dwg file. You can also add the description. I like to do that because it is helpful for me to find my files later. Okay, and so we talked a little bit about this. Escape is used to exit commands. Spacebar, that can be used to enter commands, but it can also be used to repeat the last command. So if I, for example, had polyline and then I escape, if I press spacebar, that's going to enter me right back into polyline. So just another way to be a little bit more efficient. P will select previous object. So if I have this selected and then let's just say I copy that over. If I want to copy something again, I could do CC for copy or CO for copy, and I could select that. Oh, sorry. Actually, I'm trying to show previous, so I'll do CO for copy, and then I could do P for previous, and then that will select the last selected object. So now I press enter again, and I can just easily select the last thing. Right, and so I can even do spacebar. That's going to copy, and then I can do P for previous. That's going to copy the same thing over again. So pretty useful, just another way to be more efficient. And as you continue to work in AutoCAD, your files will become large and complex, and this can sometimes cause performance issues. And that might even cause AutoCAD to crash or freeze. And so make sure you are saving your drawings very frequently, like every few minutes, really important. Sometimes you might make a change and you're not seeing that change reflected in your drawing. And so if that's the case, you can use the regen command, REGEN, and that will sort of refresh the drawing. If you have overlapping lines, you can use overkill because there's no point of having overlapping lines. It's just going to make your file larger. And you can also use purge to remove unused items from the drawing, such as block definitions and layers. And purge can be found if I go here under drawing utilities and purge. And so as we continue to work in AutoCAD, we'll practice some of these as we develop larger drawings. And something else very useful and important is the backup file. So when you create a drawing file, AutoCAD will automatically create a backup file for that. And so if I go here, for example, and I have this drawing file made, and it automatically created a backup file for me. And so if something were to happen to this file, let's say it crashed, maybe it's corrupted, whatever it is, and um, I have lost some of my work, or this file is no longer usable, I can use this backup file to get some of that work back. So I would have to rename this. I'm just going to name it like ribbon 1, for example. And then I can go here and I can change this BAK to DWG. Yes, I want to change it. And so now this has become a drawing file. And I can open this up. And then this is going to bring me to whatever that backup file was saved as last. Okay, and so I'll go ahead and close that out. All right. And so this is all about the user interface and the mouse controls, making selections, deselection, shortcuts, and optimizing your drawings. So AutoCAD uses the Cartesian coordinate system. And so this red horizontal line here, that is the x-axis. And this green vertical line here, that is the y-axis. And there's also a third axis that is known as the z-axis, but you cannot see it because we are in the 2D plane. The z-axis would be coming out of the screen. All right. And So to understand the Cartesian coordinate system, I just drew this very simple box here. And so here where our UCS or unit coordinate system is, that is going to be at 0, 0. I can actually even move this if I want. I can move it by clicking on it, and then I could put it back onto that corner, or I can move it around wherever I please. And so wherever that is, that intersection point where the X and the Y meet, that is going to be 0, 0. And then I have my grid turned on right now. I don't always like it on, but sometimes I do. And when my grid is turned on, I can see that this is divided into all of these squares. And so each of these squares are a half of a unit. So if I want to show this point here, this point is 2.5 units to the right and 2.5 units up. All right, and so each of these are half a unit. So if I were to zoom in and look here, I'd see 0.5 plus 0.5, that's 1, plus 0.5, 1.5, plus 0.5 is 2, and then plus 0.5 is 2.5. So that brings me here. And then I would do that same thing to go up along here and find that point. So this point over here, this is 5, 0. And so we really don't need this grid, right? Like we can just put in our units and we know what that is. So this is 5, 0. If I go up from there, this is 5, 5. So 5 units to the right and 5 units up. And then that brings me to this point. And then this is 0 because it doesn't go anywhere in the x-axis. And then 5 because it goes up the y-axis 5 units. If I were to go in the negative direction, I can do that as well. So if I were to go, let's say, negative, I want to keep my line straight. Negative, I'll just say 1 unit. Oops, sorry. Let me try that again. Okay, so I'm going to start here, and I'm going to do negative 1, comma, negative 1. Okay, so now this line where it ended is negative 1 unit in the x direction and then negative 1 unit in the y direction. And then that is where this is ending here. So this is negative 1, comma, negative 1. Okay,